Welcome to a podcast celebrating Scottish culture and entertainment, which is here to sing the praises of books, films, comedy, music, theatre, exhibitions, telly, poetry, and all that jazz. I'm Nicola Meighan. I'm an arts writer and broadcaster, and I'll give you the lowdown on what's coming up, what's happening now, what came before, and what we love, which is to say that every week I'm here to give you a kick up the arts. I'm joined for a blather by brilliant guests in fab art spaces around the country, and this week I am with a stage and TV legend and an operatic star, and, I'm afraid to say, a woman who upstages both of them. Her name is Bridget, and she's a Chihuahua. We met on a Sunday afternoon at Glasgow's fabled Theatre Royal for a matinee performance of Scottish opera's Don Pasquale. I'll tell you about it, but first, if you missed last week's podcast, you might have missed this, the first ever theme song thanks to Scottish pop icon Bobbie Bluebell of the Bluebells. But anyway, back to Don Pasquale, which is in Glasgow, then heads to Inverness, Edinburgh and Aberdeen. I'm joined by actor Gavin Mitchell, who you might very well know and love as Boabby the Barman in Still Game, but he's also starred in John Byrne landmarks Tutti, Frutti and the Slab Boys. He worked with Robin Williams and David Tennant, not to mention David Shirley's opera Pass the Spoon. His own show, Look Who It Isnae, a Boabby Unwrapped, is currently touring, so look out for live dates near you. Gavin and I rocked up to the theatre, had a pre-show chat with David Stout, who utterly bosses the starring role, and then we caught up to share our thoughts and to meet another star of Don Pasquale afterwards, namely, yes, Bridget the Chihuahua. Come for David and his slippers talking Italian. Stay for Gavin serenading Bridget with Donna Summer songs. I'm loving that we're sat here, Gavin Mitchell and I. We have gate crashed. I don't even think we asked whether we could gate crash your dressing room, David Stout, but thank you so much. And you've been in makeup for a long time.
Yes, it's just as well because I got my trousers on in the nick of time.
You were putting your slippers on when I came in the room. I've not seen that before. Rock and roll is not dead.
They aren't mine.
It's a Sunday after all.
I know. It is a Sunday. It's a Sunday afternoon. I have to say I'm feeling a little bit guilty because Gavin and I here are just going to have a lovely day at the opera. We just caught up. We're going to have some interval drinks. I even got a little ticket here. You've got to go and do a day's work.
Yeah, it's another shift.
Yes.
It's another shift at the office with, pages and pages of Italian that I've got to remember and work, trying to remember when to come in or when, more importantly, when not to come in.
Yeah. Both are as important as each
Indeed.
other.
I wanted to ask David a question.
You're allowed to do that. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to go to the bar now and you get to carry on.
As a lay person, I know this sounds like a really silly question, but as a lay person, do you speak Italian?
No, I don't. I mean, I can get by, and I was in Rome in the Easter period, and working at the Teatro dell'Opera di Roma, which all sounds very flashy.
Hello.
Working for the opera in Rome, and it makes you realise that just how a million miles away that it's not just a language; it's a different culture.
Yeah.
So once you've embraced a bit of the language, you've got to get the culture in there as well. But I can get by. I mean, I have to get by. In opera, we have to sing in Italian, French, German, Czech, you name it.
Yeah.
We really have to. The linguistics of it is incredibly complicated.
So to do that, is that sort of phonetically, or
yeah, absolutely.
So to get the passion and to act through it, sort of how do you? Does it change from language to language and verse to verse?
Absolutely, yeah. Every language has got its different lilt and little sets of laws and rules and regulations which you adhere to. But in opera, we are fortunately we are helped by the opera company will hire a specialist linguistic coach who is obviously, in many cases, versed in opera as well. So that's very much part of the 6 or 7 week process that we have to go through before we get into it. So it's tough.
Yeah, because you must think, am I saying that? Never mind it properly. Never mind singing it properly.
Yeah, and sometimes you get it slightly wrong, and then you get a bit, sort of like a cheeky giggle comes up.
So the seat goes up with an Italian woman shaking her fist.
That's right. You've just offended someone's mother-in-law. Yes.
It's the nuance, exactly. I'm loving how curious you are about this, Gavin Mitchell, and what I'm wondering is, is this you going to be resurrecting your own opera career? Did you see Gavin in opera?
I didn't, unfortunately, but I've read all about it.
David. I cannot believe it.
Podcast over.
I'm so out of here. My very short-lived career as in opera with the lovely David Fennessy, and the artist David Shirley. But I played an alcoholic, manic depressive egg, and an all-singing, all-dancing giant feces.
Lovely.
And a dung beetle. So quite the range, David. Quite the range.
I think that's, you've ticked all the boxes there, haven't you?
None of those directly feature in this afternoon's production, I
think you'll find they're all in there. It's part of Baritone Book 5.
And I can't wait. Introduce us to Don Pasquale and your Don Pasquale, because what fun. Right? Not just for us in the audience, but presumably the makeup alone, by the way, is great.
Yeah, thank you. It's not flattering, is it?
I don't know. It's not unflattering either.
Oh, dear, anyway. Now, where do we start? Don Pasquale, he's an old git, a real curmudgeon. And we can all equate with that, can't we? He's a 70-year-old man who's fed up. All he wants to do is sit in front of the TV and eat his pasta. But I
can relate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too. So that's come quite easily to me, that part of the role. But he's fed up because he's got quite a lot of wealth that he's built up over the years, and he wants to pass it on to his nephew, but under one condition, that he marries who he wants her to. I'm so confused already. Anyway, there just so happens to be a lady upstairs called Narina. In the same apartment block, hotel or pensione, whatever you want to call it. And Ernesto is madly in love with her. But she's a spinster, and Pasquale does not like that. So he decides to come up with a plan to try and force Ernesto, the nephew, to marry the woman that he wants him to marry. And by doing that, he gets his friend, the doctor, to come up with a young lady who might be suitable to con Ernesto. And what he's going to do, Pasquale has decided that he's going to try and marry, or pretend to marry, this suitor lady. Oh, my God. And in doing so, make Ernesto so jealous that he realises that he's got to marry who's... Anyway, that's the story. It's incredibly complicated. But in this world, the world of Pasquale is governed by this passion for cats.
Yes.
Now, this is a concept that's been brought by Renaud Doucet and André Barbe. And unfortunately, Pasquale loves cats, but he's allergic to them. So that's an overriding theme of the opera, and it actually creates a wonderful sort of realm in which the story can unfold without being too confusing.
Yeah, and we all need these cats, or we need animals. What I absolutely love about this opera, and opera in general, but also the way in which you've described it, is something that I think is so important to talk about all the time, which is sometimes people can be a little bit intimidated about coming to opera, or they can be a little bit thrown, or they think it's maybe not for them, but the warmth, the humour, the cats. There's also a dog, which we might get onto. All of these things, it comes back to the stories, the storytelling.
Yeah, and also I suppose the history of it as well, because there's a lot relates to kind of this kind of opera as well. It's almost commedia dell'arte in a way. There's kind of parallels between that and the humour, isn't there? And so
absolutely, that's all very much reflected in this opera in Don Pasquale. But what's so beautiful about this is if you're into comedy, and if you're into just situation comedy as well, something you'll experienced a lot in your career, is actually all you want to be able to do is sit there and chuckle to yourself and go, it's just like that at the local pub, or oh God, I had that, the wife, all the kids, and that's really what this is about. It's very, very relatable.
Because if you don't remember, because sitting here looking at you, so you actually look as if you could be in a sitcom. It could be like a 60s, 70s kind of sitcom.
Well, I think the beauty of this, the set is so incredibly vivid and vibrant and colourful, and all the characters. I mean, do remember, you've got a wealth of chorus who are going to make appearances who have all got fully developed roles as well. They're not just extras in the back of a scene. They're all... I'm not going to spoil it, but they make me chuckle, never mind.
So there are cats which may or may not be real. There is a legendary dog which certainly is. You ever worked with any animals? I know you've played an egg and you've played an asparagus, I think, as well.
I've played asparagus, carrots, dung beetles. Oh, I've quite the range. I've worked with various animals. I've worked with monkeys. I've worked with an elephant before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What were the monkeys? The band or the animals?
That's another band.
Yeah.
So, no, I worked with a monkey at the King's Theatre, I remember, with a sketch show.
That's your autobiography title right there, Gavin.
I worked with a monkey at the King's.
But it's also the chance element of having so many characters on set and the animals. So every single performance is slightly different as well, right? Because I think once people get their teeth into opera, the more you come for it and come to it, the more you get out of it as well.
Oh, there's so much to see. It's a lot on offer here.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, as I said, I'm some of these people gets incredibly deeply focused in what they're doing, and if I take my mind off it for a minute, I've lost it, or I'll come in later or forget a word. But there are moments in this opera where I turn around and see something I've never noticed before.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Again, I don't want to ruin it, but it does lighten my world up.
Oh, fantastic.
Going through the stress and anxiety of trying to get this role out. But yeah, it's great to have such a vivid set, because sometimes you end up as an opera singer in a far-flung country with sort of 2 stools and a table, and that's your set for 3 acts. No, it's not here.
God, that's so true. It's to keep you occupied as well, right?
Absolutely. And the great thing also is that, people, we sit in rehearsal saying, please don't make it too pantomimic. I mean, this is funny.
And by the way, pantomime is wonderful,
Yes.
right? It's all theatre,
What a
it's all
celebration.
singing, it's all
Seriously.
dancing.
I mean, it really is wonderful when you get a good laugh out of the audience, and so far so good. We're getting some good laughs.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful thing about it, as you were saying, that people can associate things being a bit too elitist or whatever, and suddenly to bring a piece that is big and vibrant and has connections almost to pantomime in a way, comedic opera, commedia dell'arte, and suddenly there's a lovely kind of crossing of streams, really. So it's a fabulous thing as an en route for people.
Well, the tradition of music theatre and pantomime all stemmed from the concept of the commedia dell'arte. You're absolutely right, and that's exactly what we're doing on stage. And quite frankly, some of the gags are so lowbrow. Really.
Excellent. I'm so glad I'm here, David.
We knew we were in the right place, didn't we, Gavin?
I was fortunate enough to sing in the Barber of Seville here last year, and I put in a certain noise. Hello. In one scene, but we did get one letter of complaint.
Be disappointed if not, though, right?
Shifting uneasily on his chair.
Did you always love opera?
No.
As a kid?
No, not at all.
What drew you to it?
In some ways, I was forced into it.
Okay.
It's the last thing. My parents were both good amateur singers, and I was dragged along to Gilbert and Sullivan operas, and I just hated it. I really didn't like it, and they encouraged me more musically, and I think I rebelled during my teens, but in my 20s, I'm actually a zoologist by degree, so I have spent some of my life working with animals in far-flung parts of the world. But as a result of which, after 5 years of travelling and teaching biology, which I did, and I sort of fell back in love with it.
Wow.
And I took an opportunity to go and study at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. It was supposed to be just a year, and I worked really hard and doors started to open, and I just stuck at it, and it was no overnight success. I've been grafting away for 16 years with small companies, big roles, and then small roles in big companies, and slowly trying to discover where I am in the opera world. But now I do really enjoy it. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be part of.
Just finally, before we go and get our seats and we leave you to get on the stage, David, I'm very conscious of time. What's lovely about that story is that kind of chimes a bit with your own experience of coming into theatre, Gavin, and being behind the scenes and just slowly getting onto the stage and onto the screen.
Yeah, a kind of love-hate thing, and it kind of happened for me by accident. Really, I was originally a painter and an artist, and then through that I became a scene painter, and I kind of stumbled into it, really, until it was a dare with a friend who'd been asked to be an extra at the King's and Tis Pity She's a Whore, John Ford play, and he said, well, he had no aspirations, and he said, well, if you do it, I'll do it. And Okay, we shook hands on it, and here I am nearly 40 years later. So,
Amazing.
Here I am in the dressing room
Yes,
listening to the
indeed.
band warming up, and guess what? You're on the stage as well. It's a big surprise, Gavin.
I'm the dog.
You're David's understudy. We're going out, right? I'm the
Hold
dog.
on to your tune up.
Perfect. It's going to happen. It's going to be brilliant. Well, we can't wait to see you on stage very shortly. We're going to catch up afterwards, right?
Absolutely.
It's been a total pleasure to chat to you.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Slippers or not, David.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Cheers. Right, let's go get our seats.
Okay,
Enjoy.
Bye. Well, Gavin, that is us. We have emerged from the wonderful dress
from the world
circle
of Don Pasquale.
at the yes, in the wonderful Theatre Royal. I made a few notes.
Get you.
Look at the page.
Look at your notes. That's nuts. You could be taken away for that. That's like written in blood of like flat. That's like, I don't know, what's his name? Out of Dracula, Renfield.
It's not even linear. It's just like it's upside down.
The
things.
musings of a madwoman.
We had a ball, didn't we?
Yeah, it was fab.
It was absolutely
fantastic.
awesome. It was wonderful, and we are now in a different dressing room. We were in David's beforehand. Now we're in the other superstar, or one of the many other superstars of the show,
the
to
diva.
be introduced shortly. Can't help noticing she did get the biggest cheer.
Yeah, and who can blame her?
And she was on stage for 20, 30 seconds.
Well, you know, I like that. I like her attitude. I
know,
like how she
I
goes
know.
about it. Just save the best till I come on, darling. I steal the show, and then I walk off.
Oh, she's just sitting over there nicely getting some treats.
Yeah.
Look
So,
at her
are you
wee
talking
tail.
about me? Are you talking about me?
Wasn't it a blast, though? One of the things that struck me very, very quickly when we sat down to watch it was the physical comedy from the off was stunning.
It was brilliant. I mean, as always, you know, Scottish Opera production values and things are phenomenal. And then we were talking about just various things that struck us. It was almost like people of a certain age will get this, like like photo book, almost like Jackie getting her stories at the start, which was a lovely surprise.
Yeah, I love that. It was a great preamble, wasn't it? So it kind of stripped back this kind of comic book idea. And listen, we're talking about opera maybe sometimes being a little bit misinterpreted, and comic art and graphic art is very much the same, isn't it?
And again, when we were looking at it, we were both saying it kind of touched different veins when we were watching it. I was saying like Sidney Shomey, who did The Illusionist and Bellevue Rendezvous and things. The set is very much like that, and costumes and things which all gelled beautifully.
The set was absolutely gorgeous. The colours are right up my street anyway, all reds and oranges.
Well, you would have loved all the styles, kind of 60s styles and
absolutely.
things.
I think the fact that it's set in the 60s is particularly interesting because it gave a lot of playfulness to the set. So first of all, it had that kind of retro, obviously it's set in Rome, but I was in Naples relatively recently, and I could just see it in the back alleyways and all the kind of rusty colours and the red colours and the washing hanging out, you know, above the cobbled, tiny, tiny crumbling streets. But then later on in it, we get an almost pop art element. There's a different cartoonish aspect,
in the
right?
second act. Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of weird. It was almost kind of Kubrick.
Absolutely. Chuck in a wee bit of Austin Powers, you know, it was all there,
there
right?
was a wee
it was sort
bit
of
as well,
futuristic, so I love the fact there were lots of different reference points, and that was just the set. Now, we spoke to David just before he went on stage, and he was lovely, wasn't he? And he was sat in his slippers. But again, the physicality, before we even get to the voice of the character he was inhabiting, was brilliant. I couldn't almost believe it was the same guy because he was so convincing as this kind of like 70-year-old
again, the things
loved
that you
up
underestimate, as we spoke about earlier, just about that things can be some people can think of things as being slightly elitist and things. And first, though, I have to say, when we met David, he's just so lovely and so down to earth and so brilliant. And things that he told us about his life on and off mic, and you go, oh my God,
I know.
You are one of us. You're not just an opera god.
You can be both, right?
You can be both. You can be human and things. And even quoted for Still Game to me at one point, which I was taken
tell me
about.
about this. This is lovely. I heard it half when I was packing up.
He turned around and said to me, do you know, we say lines from Still Game now and again. I thought, all right. I didn't know what he was going to say. And he said, 2 nuns in a bath. I never thought I'd hear that. That was fab.
I then had this vision of them doing it, you know, just off stage before they went on, and then
which sounds like there's certainly lots of room watching that show for fun and carry on stage. I think it's very, as we said earlier, sort of pantomimic in many ways because of Commedia dell'arte and so forth. But yeah, the elements of it, just not only the voice but the comedy. Physicality of comedy was phenomenal. It was just brilliant thing, really unexpected, and finding little choice moments as well. I loved the thing where if somebody jumped, the reverberations were almost like an earthquake, and everybody else kind of went up in the air slightly.
It's lovely, over animated.
And he has physical dexterity. It's beautiful, and also facially as well, so expressive.
I know, that's so true. I have to kind of love the fact that the men don't come off so well in this, really, do they? The
especially
pair of
like
them,
if
right?
we've learned anything, don't marry when you're an old man. Thanks very much.
Spoiler alert, that's the moral of the tale.
Well, that's me putting my place.
But we've got Ernesto as well, and we've got Don Pasquale, and the pair of them are just these absolutely heartbroken, wretched, pathetic creatures. They both think they're physically dead because they've been done over by a woman.
And it's the one that I do love about operas is when something happens to somebody, it's, let me tell you about it. 14 times how unhappy I am. Did you hear what I said? I'm unhappy.
I know. I even took it at one point and went, I live here in torment, lovelorn and alone. He was almost relishing it.
It's almost, he was talking to me.
Yeah, so the poor men, but the comedy value again is absolutely terrific. But also, one of these great things, we chatted to David a wee bit about the idea that these things bear revisiting.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch the entire thing again just to see that saucy mop woman.
Oh, hello.
I mean, she's got a proper name, but that was pretty good, right?
She was great.
So I felt like it was somewhere in between kind of Flashdance, you know, Welder by day, Dancer
and
by
Held
night.
Ogden.
Yes. And Dreamgirls.
Yeah, and boy, she can pull a rope. You'd have to see the show to know what I mean. It was quite, but again, the physicality, she was phenomenal. And the guy who played like the old bellboy.
Yes, yeah.
He was
my
wonderful
goodness,
as
I know.
well.
I know. I felt like I feel my back's kind of like I need to kind of keep stretching up because he held that pose for
and
so long.
all just done through physical. You grew to really love him and really know him right to the end. It was just beautiful. And even for the curtain call, he stayed in character.
He did indeed. I was well impressed with that. Didn't give it up for a second. The music, of course, was utterly stunning. The orchestration was great. Again, the drama, the humour, and the passion, of course, in the music itself and the operatic performance. But I was also watching it thinking, and there's a translation of everything, right? So you're getting your subtitles throughout it. But sometimes I wasn't looking at them and I was like, it's a bit like silent film, if you like. There's so much going on that you don't necessarily have to have every single thing spelled out for you. You can have it there if you want it. Or you can interpret it in your own way.
You can jump between, those times where, I was doing that at first. I thought, am I missing anything? And you're looking, trying to catch every word. And then eventually kind of like, actually, it's quite relaxed, and you kind of read the physicality, read the tone and the voice and everything, within its context. You can kind of tell what's going on. Which is beautiful.
I did kind of love the fact that I hadn't really thought about it when I first got in touch with you. And I said, do you fancy coming to the opera? And I dangled a couple of carrots in front of you, so to speak, one of whom we're going to be seeing shortly.
Hello.
But what I hadn't really encountered or sort of reflected on was the fact that at the heart of this is a kind of a downtrodden landlord. And that's not necessarily an entirely strange character to you in the Clansman.
I was going to say, I just think Don Pasquale, the Rigby of opera. The Rigsby of opera. But a downtrodden landlord, I sympathise very much. That and the thinning hair. And then even, gosh, I wish for Bobby's mullet sometimes. If you could get Nick Cave on Wish, you'd end up with Boabby.
If you could get Boabby the Barman on Wish, you'd end up with Nick Cave.
Oh, bless him.
And I say that as someone who knows and loves the man dearly.
Oh, likewise.
That was the other reason you came on. You gave me that scripted to say at some point. So that's me. that's me
the money that's changed hands.
That character, when Boabby came to you, or when he was brought to you, what appealed about him? Like, what appeals to you about a character? Because it's one thing to be looking forward to someone like David playing Don Pasquale and thinking about how much fun that will be. But you've played so many different characters on stage, on screen, in vegetable costumes, in animations, in opera, as an egg. I'm not saying there's a continual theme, but do you get a sense, this is something I want to do?
Yeah, I mean, it tends to be, because people forget, although I'll always be known for Boabby, it only took up like a fortnight of my year.
Exactly.
And I only did it for such a short time relatively, and so I was always doing other things apart from that. So and I kind of, it was weird, because when I came in I thought, okay, I'm playing a barman, and I auditioned for it and they said, no, but the part's got to be right, it's got to be right, and they made me audition even though nobody else was auditioning, so it was a wind up. And it was great, and we finally grew, because the boys had always said it was based on the Simpsons, was the kind of template. But and so he started getting more and more to do, as everybody did, and we all got our own episodes, and the boys were very, very kind and generous that way in their writing and things. But I suppose in other ways it's the gift that it's the only reason I think you do acting. You certainly don't do it for the money most of the time. You do it for for the difference, the versatility, the kind of variety. And so it's something that depends where my head's at the time. Something comes up and I go, oh yeah, whether it's the part or it's working with a certain director or a writer or going somewhere or whatever kind of tickles me. And that's why probably if you looked at my CV, it's a bit mental. It's like, he did what? He played a giant jobby in an opera. And
among others.
Among others, my darling, quite the range. And then Casablanca and things like that. So I like that. I like to keep it really varied. I like doing anything from, radio to film to, whatever comes up. That's what excites me. That's what, if I was doing the one thing, I think I'd go off my head.
Yeah.
Really.
But again, it comes back to storytelling and the drama of it, whether that's on screen, on radio, or on the telly, or on the stage. Very early on, just when we had gone from the kind of comic book aspect of the setting up of Don Pasquale, the opera, to we started seeing the set, but it was still in black and white.
Yeah.
Okay, Pensione Pasquale at that point, no spoilers, but the name does change at some point. Mm-hmm. But because of the way the steps were coming down, and because I was with you, so I would have been thinking about it in this context, there was a moment where I thought, that reminds me of the Slab Boys set.
Oh, yeah. It was a wee bit like Slab Boys in some respects. And it's funny, because I was watching it as well, and I thought, probably John Byrne, bless him, I think John would have loved it. In terms of a lot of the costumes and design were very reminiscent of John, I think. Yeah. Very beautiful. And I don't know, I'd be very surprised if John hadn't done an opera. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know that, I'm not sure.
Well, you could argue that something like Tutti Frutti kind of was, or Your Cheating Heart was, and again, you were involved with Tutti Frutti when it came to the stage.
To stage version, and I suppose that was the brilliant thing about John as well, that this amalgamation of things and bringing some things that people would consider quite elitist to a working class audience, whether it be the language, whether it be the art, making it accessible to everybody. John was brilliant at that.
So I love there was that resonance as well. Just at the very start, I thought, there's lots of things can exist at the same time on the stage. We were really taken with it all. Would you say?
Oh, right? Absolutely.
Characterization, the setting, the music. So I knew something was happening at the start because we met one of the key stars actually before the show for a little cuddle, didn't we? But I was so taken with the opera that actually by the time she came on stage for the 20 or 30 seconds at the end, I had forgotten it was going to happen. So it was even more of a surprise. So while she maybe comes over beside us, this is wonderful Bridget the Chihuahua with her wonderful...
Is it like Bridget Bardot?
Do I say, are you, Denise, our manager? Are you our agent?
I am her owner.
Okay. Nobody owns Bridget.
It's Bridget's world. We're just lucky to be a part of it. Oh, what is she like? So we've now got Bridget, this beautiful tiny wee chihuahua in Denise's arms. She's got a little diamante bone for her little collar. Now, Bridget is well versed, Denise, with Don Pasquale, isn't she?
She is. This is the second time.
And the first time was, because this is the revival of the 2014 production, isn't it?
Yeah, she played the part 10 years ago.
Wow, so what age is Bridget?
She's quite an old lady now.
She looks fab.
She's a veteran. She's a veteran performer.
She looks gorgeous.
She's like Doris Day or something.
Has she had work
doesn't
done?
age. Now she's up on her little desk.
I thought she was going to come and bite me then after saying that. How dare you?
Did she have to? There was a casting call, so did you have to audition for the role?
She did.
Right?
She did, yes. I brought 4. I've got quite a few chihuahuas, and we brought 4.
And ultimately, it was down to me and Bridget. Bridget got it.
They were very keen to use Bridget again if she could do the part, and she's very fit and healthy. So
she's absolutely
amazing.
gorgeous, and she has her own dressing room.
I know I shouldn't ask a lady's age, but she does.
should
She looks
be.
like she's a young thing.
She's like a wee baby, and I don't know if you know this, Gavin Mitchell, but this is actually a superstar family. I should say at this point, incidentally, that thank you so much to my amazing BBC colleague Pauline McLean for alerting me to the fact that there was going to be a Chihuahua in the performance, because Gavin, we can now see that when I did get in touch with you, and I was like, Gavin, when I come to the opera with me, there's a Chihuahua.
I know, there's a dog. Oh, hello, I'll be there. Yeah, I was really chuffed. I felt a wee bit bad I didn't bring Bob. There could have been a romance here, actually.
That's going to be the next opera.
Bob and Bridget. It writes itself.
It's going to happen.
There's a show there.
There's an acting dynasty here, isn't there? Because Bridget's daughter, Charlotte? Tell us about
Bridget's
Charlotte.
daughter, Charlotte, appeared in a Phoebe Bridgers music video with Paul Mescal.
Paul Mescal.
Oh,
Casual.
hello.
Yeah.
Oh.
But her mum's
Shared a bed with Paul Mescal.
Whoa, Bridget, come on.
That was Charlotte. Bridget's
Charlotte, yeah.
Bridget doesn't go like that. Bridget doesn't sleep around,
Oh, no.
right? Hey, Bridget. So how did Bridget get the role then? What's the sort of audition for this?
For Scottish Opera?
Yeah.
We just have to make sure it's a dog that's nice and calm and relaxed and
She certainly is that.
doesn't mind wearing a costume, doesn't mind being carried about on stage.
I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but we should say that she is wearing a costume, and it's to do with the fact that again, David mentioned this beforehand, so I'm not spoiling anything. One of the other recurring themes within this wonderful production is cats.
Yeah.
And he has an allergy to cats. So let's just say, by the way, I'm never recording another podcast if it's not while I'm getting to cuddle a chihuahua at exactly the same time.
Oh, she's so beautiful.
I need a new rider. That's it, Bridget. Bridget's now on the mixing desk.
Oh, brilliant. Hey.
That's it. I've got my producer. Oh, I'm going to get a wee picture of her, in fact.
She likes to be in control of any interviews.
She does, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I mean,
Quite right.
She's got her own. Does she have a rider?
She's earned it.
Does she have any rider requests? Any particular treats or?
As long as she has food, as long as there are snacks, that's all that matters to
A bit
Bridget.
like myself, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, she should be able to get what she wants. She's a veteran, after all. She's done this more than anybody else in the cast.
She's so lovely. Do you get to actually see the full opera though? Because you'll be looking after Bridget at that point.
I've never seen the whole opera.
Oh, really?
Oh, I've got a great idea. I'll come and watch Bridget. Denise, you say the word. I'll come and look after Bridget. And I'm just going to. Obviously, we're still recording, but I'm also just going to take a little picture. Just,
absolutely, especially at the mixing desk.
Well, because I've got a wee new producer.
Oh. Oh, she knows how to pose, doesn't she?
She's unreal.
It's like, hello. Yeah. I think she should have a calendar.
Oh, yes. Well, I was already saying, we reckon T-shirts.
Plush toys.
We're up for that.
And a calendar.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Bridget calendar is going to
our
happen.
own website.
Okay, but I also know that this is your post-show chill time, Bridget, so we will... we'll give you peace and quiet now. But Denise, how amazing! Like, so do all of the dogs have different kind of roles? And do you have do you have a fancy sort of tour bus for them?
I wish. No, they all have. Her daughter's done quite a lot. Bridget's more theatre.
Oh, like this,
My darling,
right?
hello.
She's theatre only.
Okay.
Oh,
She's
you can tell the way
done
she
Legal
conducts herself.
Blonde and
She did Legally Blonde as
yes,
well.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
as well as the opera. And Charlotte is TV, film, music, that kind of
Magic is more work than me.
Hey, Gavin, I know you've been an egg before and an asparagus, but you're missing a trick. Just put on a Chihuahua suit.
Hey, I'm going straight to Remnant Kings for some fun fur.
On that note. Well, listen, thank you so much. Thank you, Bridget. Oh, look at that.
Baby.
We should really be filming this podcast.
Yeah,
but this we need to visualise this more than this. But I feel like I'm describing it quite well. Listen
scratch
to
and
your voice.
sniff.
I do. Okay, Bridget, superstar.
Yes.
Are you coming over?
Oh, she's coming
hello.
over. Right, I think probably we're all going to get
coming
a
over to
cuddle.
melt my heart.
She's going over to see
That,
Gavin.
aye.
Should we kind of wind this up and you can give Bridget a proper cuddle?
Oh yeah, I'm going to steal it.
Are we going to go to
take her
Remnant
home
Kings?
to Bob.
We're going to go to Remnant
Yeah,
Kings
we're all
and get
going to
Gavin a
I'm going
Chihuahua
to
suit.
form my own pack. I'm going to take Bridget. I'm going to dress up as a dog. You're going to meet Bob. You're going to fall in love. We're all going to live happily ever after as a wee pack of dogs.
And that's an opera in itself.
Yeah, that's a story there. Oh, look at. Oh, you're so good. Oh, look
She has a fee.
that killed that, didn't it?
I should have negotiated this before I pressed record.
What happened to
I
things
don't
like
have a
love?
budget.
Look at the bond here. This isn't about money. This is about hearts intertwining.
Soapbox and everything.
Yeah.
Gavin, thank you so much for coming on. And I did promise you'd get a cuddle from a little Chihuahua.
Thank
I'm a
you
woman
so
of my
much.
word, right?
Yeah, that's
Where are we going to go
well
next?
worth it. What a day.
Actually, let's just go to Inverness. That's where the show's going
Yeah,
next.
yeah.
Okay.
Do you need another minder?
Anytime.
Oh, I'm in, Bridget. I'm with you. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love her. Bridget. Oh, love to love you, baby. Oh, yes.
Vincent Price, eat your heart out. I have to press stop at some point. I don't have the heart to because Bridget's now coming back.
Coming
Hello.
back.
There you go.
Take me away from that creepy man.
She's running away. Thank you, Gavin.
Thank you.
Okay.